We're at a really strange moment with AI in the business world. We've got these incredibly powerful autonomous systems, right? But the rulebook we're using to manage them is frankly totally out of date. So in this explainer, we're going to dig into a whole new way of thinking about AI accountability. And it's all about moving from that launch it and hope for the best mindset to one where you can actually defend every single decision your AI makes. Let's just kick things off with a number that really tells the story. A recent McKinsey report found that 47% of organizations, we're talking nearly half, have already run into governance or ethical problems with their generative AI. So yeah, this is not some theoretical what-if problem anymore. It is happening right now, today.
So what's going on here? Why is this happening? Well, just take a look at this. There is a massive leadership gap at the very top. Only 28% of companies say the CEO is in charge of AI governance. And it gets even worse. Just 17% have the board directly involved. When the people with the most authority aren't directly overseeing one of the biggest risks, you get exactly this kind of dangerous disconnect. Okay, here's our game plan for breaking this all down. First, we're going to dive deep into this governance crisis and really understand why the old rules just don't apply anymore. Then, I'm going to introduce you to a new framework called the safety case, and we'll walk through the 5 critical questions you have to be able to answer. We'll also cover why this is suddenly a huge priority for boards and how it completely changes the game from just deploying AI to being able to defend it. The source material we're looking at calls this the governance inflection point. And I gotta say, that phrase is perfect. It's that moment where the entire conversation just shifts. It's not about should we use AI anymore? Oh no. The question now is, can we stand behind our AI's decisions, especially when things go wrong? And hey, if you're thinking this is a problem for some far-off future version of you, think again. Gartner is predicting that by 2027, AI governance is going to be a legal requirement globally. And get this, by 2029, the number of major lawsuits involving AI is expected to double. The clock is ticking, and the legal stakes are getting really high, really fast.
So with all these new risks popping up, why are our current ways of governing AI failing so badly? Let's get into the fundamental flaw in how most of us have been thinking about this. Think about it like this. The old model was kind of like getting a driver's license. You pass the test once, they hand you a plastic card, and you're considered good to go, forever. But with autonomous AI, that is nowhere near good enough. You need a system that's more like a continuous driving test, one that's constantly proving that the AI is still a safe and responsible operator out there on the road. And here's a number that just drives that point home. It's wild. 80% of companies found their AI agents doing things they absolutely should not have been doing, like leaking sensitive data or accessing restricted systems, all because nobody explicitly told them not to. It's the ultimate case of the AI saying, well, you didn't say I couldn't. So how do we possibly fix this? Well, let me introduce you to the safety case. Now, this isn't some new, untested idea somebody cooked up in a lab. It's actually a proven, battle-tested framework that's been borrowed from industries where you absolutely, positively cannot afford to be wrong. We're talking aviation, nuclear power, and medical technology. At its very heart, a safety case is all about answering one simple but incredibly profound question. Why is it okay for this AI to be running in our business? Do you see the shift there? You're no longer just assuming it's safe, you are actively proving it with a documented, structured argument. So what does a good, defensible safety case actually look like? Well, it all comes down to being able to answer 5 critical questions. Think of these as the ultimate stress test for your AI governance. These are the exact questions someone is going to ask you when something inevitably goes wrong. Let's dive in. First up, what is this AI's job description? You have to be crystal clear about what you've allowed it to do, and maybe even more importantly, what you have forbidden it from doing. For instance, this AI can draft marketing emails, but it can never send them without a human pushing the button. It has to be that specific. The key here, and you'll hear this a lot, is to write it all down. What's allowed? What's banned? And where are those non-negotiable, human-in-the-loop moments where a person has to give the final green light? This is how you prevent that dangerous scope creep, where your AI starts freelancing and doing things you never ever intended. Okay, now for the big why question. When your AI does something, especially something unexpected, you have to be able to explain its reasoning, and not in some technical jargon that only a data scientist understands. We're talking plain English, the kind of explanation your CEO could use to defend the decision to a regulator or a news reporter. So what does that look like in practice? It means you've got to document what data the AI is using, how it's actually making its choices, and this one's a big one, what it does when it gets confused. Does it stop? Does it ask a human for help? You have to have a plan for uncertainty. Question 3 is all about planning for the worst case scenario. It's not enough to just be an optimist here. You have to be a professional pessimist. What are all the different ways this could go off the rails? And what's your concrete plan to stop it before it happens? This means you need a list, an inventory of everything that could possibly go wrong. You need a clear-eyed assessment of the potential damage, financial, legal, you name it, and you need a set of controls to prevent it. We're talking things like rate limits, content filters, and yes, a big red off button if things really go sideways. Now for question 4, which is all about avoiding the classic corporate blame game. When something goes wrong, the last thing you want is everyone pointing fingers at each other. You need to know, without a shadow of a doubt, exactly who is responsible. The safety case forces you to put names to these roles. Who is the business owner? Who's the tech owner? Who's the compliance owner? When it's written down in black and white, there's just no room for that dreaded phrase, "I thought you were handling that." And the 5th and final question is really all about the evidence. Can you actually prove what happened, step by step? Because if you can't, a regulator is going to assume the worst, that you have no governance at all. This is where the rubber truly meets the road. You need detailed logs, a clear policy on how long you're keeping them, and a repeatable procedure to piece together the chain of events. Without that audit trail, you're not just flying blind, you can't prove you were ever in control in the first place. So why is this suddenly such a hot topic in the boardroom? Well, it's because the stakes have gotten a whole lot higher for the people at the top. Let's look at the key pressures that are making senior leaders sit up and pay very close attention. It really boils down to 3 things. First, personal liability. Board members can now be held personally responsible for major AI failures. Second, regulatory asymmetry. Regulators can use today's much stricter standards to judge an AI decision you made years ago. And third, reputational amplification. Social media can take a tiny AI mistake and turn it into a global PR nightmare in a matter of minutes. And this right here, this really gets to the absolute heart of the matter. The goal is not perfection. That's a fool's errand when you're dealing with AI. The real goal, the only goal, is defensibility. It's about being able to stand up after something goes wrong and say, here's exactly what happened, here's why it happened, and here's our plan to make sure it doesn't happen again. So I'll just leave you with this. It's really no longer a question of if your AI will make a mistake, but when. And when that day comes, will you be ready? Will you be able to defend it? The future of your business might very well depend on the answer.